Most people imagine war elephants as unstoppable living tanks that crushed armies and decided battles by sheer size alone. But this popular image hides the biggest mistake historians, filmmakers, and audiences keep making about them. War elephants were not invincible weapons of domination. They were psychological tools that worked only under very specific conditions and often backfired with catastrophic consequences. Ancient commanders used elephants mainly to terrify enemy soldiers, unfamiliar horses, and unprepared formations, relying on fear rather than raw killing power. When that fear failed, the elephants themselves became a deadly liability. These animals were intelligent, emotional, and extremely sensitive to noise, pain, and chaos, especially on crowded battlefields filled with fire, screaming men, clashing metal, and unfamiliar smells. Once frightened, an elephant did not distinguish friend from foe. It ran wherever panic drove it, trampling its own troops, crushing supply lines, and tearing apart carefully planned formations. This happened repeatedly across history, yet the myth of the unstoppable elephant survived because spectacle overshadowed reality. In battles against disciplined forces, war elephants were countered with tactics that exposed their weakness. Roman soldiers learned to open lanes in their ranks, letting elephants pass through harmlessly before attacking them from behind. Archers and slingers targeted the animal's eyes, ears, and handlers. Knowing that a wounded or uncontrolled elephant was more dangerous to its owner than to the enemy, some armies used fire, loud horns, and shrill instruments to induce panic, instantly turning an elephant charge into chaos. At the Battle of Zama, Hannibal's elephants failed against Roman discipline, and many turned back into Carthaginian lines, contributing directly to defeat. In India and Southeast Asia, elephants were more successful because terrain, training, and cultural familiarity reduced risks. But even there, they required immense resources, expert handlers, and constant control. Feeding, transporting, healing, and managing war elephants drained economies and slowed armies, making them impractical for long campaigns. They could not be easily replaced, unlike soldiers, and losing a trained elephant was both a military and financial disaster. Commanders also struggled to coordinate elephants with infantry and cavalry, because once released, elephants followed. Instinct more than orders. As military tactics evolved, the battlefield became increasingly hostile to large animals. Organized infantry formations, improved missile weapons, and later gunpowder erased the psychological advantage elephants once held. Cannons and firearms terrified them beyond control, ending their usefulness almost overnight. The real lesson of war elephants is not that bigger weapons win wars, but that fear is a fragile strategy. Once an enemy adapts, fear turns inward and destroys the force that relied on it. War elephants symbolize how misunderstood power can become weakness, reminding us that warfare is shaped less by size and spectacle and more by discipline, adaptability, logistics, and understanding human psychology. This is why the biggest mistake about war elephants is believing they were decisive on their own, when in truth they were fragile extensions of human morale. They magnified confidence when armies were bold, organized, and prepared, but magnified disaster when leadership failed or enemies adapted. Ancient texts describe handlers carrying spikes or blades specifically to kill their own elephants if control was lost, a grim acknowledgement of the danger they posed. This alone proves commanders never fully trusted them. War elephants demanded perfect timing, terrain, and coordination, conditions rarely guaranteed in real combat. Rain, mud, narrow passes, and unexpected resistance could neutralize them instantly. Their massive size made them visible targets, and once injured, their pain echoed into panic. Over time, experienced armies stopped fearing elephants altogether, recognizing them as unpredictable tools rather than divine monsters. The myth endured because it served propaganda, intimidating enemies before battles even began. Yet history shows that discipline, training, and adaptability always outlast spectacle. War elephants did not dominate warfare. They exposed the limits of relying on fear as a weapon. They remain a powerful reminder that strength without control becomes vulnerability, and that true military power lies not in size, but in understanding how humans and animals react under pressure. the story of war elephants ultimately reflects a broader truth about history itself, where misunderstood symbols become exaggerated legends over time. When examined closely, these creatures reveal how innovation without restraint can betray its creators. Their legacy survives not as proof of overwhelming force, but as evidence that adaptation always defeats intimidation. Every empire that relied on them eventually learned this lesson, sometimes too late, sometimes at enormous cost. In the end, war elephants remind us that mastery of fear matters more than fear itself. This truth echoes across centuries, warning modern audiences to question legends and look deeper than appearances. History favors those who adapt, think critically, and understand limits, not those who blindly worship size, terror, or spectacle. War elephants prove this lesson with thunder, blood, panic, and unforgettable consequences. Forever.